So what I might do now is to invite Mr. Mark Parker, who's a panel member of C1 Power System Development and Economics. Unfortunately, Christian Schaefer sends his apologies, but Mark Parker also is the incoming Australian panel convener, so I'd like to invite Mark Parker up here.
Thank you. So last year as well, Christian couldn't make it for a certain reason, and I presented his presentation. I think for my sins, I've become the convener for the next 6 years as well. So depending on how this goes. Oh, wrong way. C1, so power system development and economics. I think interesting looking at the slide for SIGRE and the proportion of people who attend the SIGRE events, 35% being utility, was interesting. So C1 is for the development of the power system, so we're looking at the methods and the tools for power system development. We're helping utilities in that. They seem to have a, as the interconnection of the power system, an important role there. C1 itself is quite, I see as the scope is quite broad when you're trying to capture the development of the power system and the economics of it, and we lean on the experience of other panels as well. So, there's a panel for economics, there's a panel for asset management, there's panels for, the technical developments such as C4. What we do in C1 is really collect that together and help guide and understand how power system development should be going forward in the future. So here in Australia, if I use the word methods or system planning issues, we have AEMOs on the panel, and Eli Pack often presents the Integrated System Plan, Electricity Statement of Opportunities. We talk about the TAPA, the DAPA, so the annual planning reports. We talk about the tools that are used for system development, so Plexus and PSSE are very important tools still for having a good understanding of how the power system is being developed. Then looking at transmission build-outs, planning in general. One thing we're finding at the moment is planning is becoming so much more holistic, and the words social licence come into play. So the C1 panel, we have 24 members, well represented from the transmission in Australia. We have New Zealand Transgrid represented as well. We have distribution represented, AEMO, AEMC, and consultancies as well. There's a number of consultancies joining. For our the overview of the areas that we're studying at the moment, so grid planning and system development, business and economics, interconnections and sector integration and asset management. And you can see the SAG here. We have, what do we call it? Strategic Study Advisory Group with the international representation, guiding our way in terms of what are areas of focus and studies that we're working on. So system planning, asset management, business and economics, interconnections, horizontal and vertical, centralised, decentralised, edge, yeah. So 3 preferential subjects for 2026. As you can see, a holistic planning of the integrated system for the energy transition. So covering sustainable scenarios, planning methodologies towards net zero while maintaining or increasing resilience, prioritisation of asset management plans and allocation of capital. Strategic investment decisions is another preferential subject in the context of the energy transition. and planning in the cyber physical system. So as we understand, cybersecurity will be such an important part of the power system of the future. So we have a record number of working groups underway, as you can see. All of the names are quite long, so I can let you read those if you like. And we have 4 publications were completed in 2025 and another publication in process at the moment. So C1, here's a nice busy picture which tries to encapsulate what C1 is looking at. So we recognise the interconnectivity of our energy ecosystem. The source of our future energy will likely be as diverse as our end uses, from the physical and cyber-social to the cyber-social. Success starts with a plan that is adaptable and flexible, recognising uncertainty as well as opportunity. And planning, I guess that being a key word there, planning in a dynamic and flexible environment, we need to be adaptable. In the year gone by, we had 1 face-to-face meeting and 3 90-minute catch-ups virtually. Unfortunately, Cyclone Alfred stopped, I'd say, a quarter of the people coming down from Brisbane at the time. So the in-person meeting was held in Transgrid's office, capped off with a visit to the 330 kV underground substation underneath the building there, which we were taken through by Kevin Hinkley. So that was a great way to cap off the face-to-face meeting. In our group, there's a number of active discussions, and the list is here. So planning under uncertainty, planning standards, social licensing and its impact on network development, impact of new technologies on the planning process, say grid forming, electrification and its impact on the power system, and carbon quantification. So carbon being such a one of those social aspects that is growing a little bit. There's the idea here was to consider how carbon could also be integrated into network planning for centralised and decentralised scenarios, but not just scope 1, but scope 1, scope 2 and parts of scope 3. So the year ahead. Thank you to Christian for the last 6 years chairing the panel. Somehow I've taken over the role to chair the panel, so I'm quite excited by that, but I feel like there's still quite a lot to learn. There's a number of people I still need to meet and talk to in C1 and get a better understanding of the direction that we as a group want to take forward. What does the Australian panel want to do in the next year? So a summary paper covering the discussion topics presented previously, and also likely a webinar on that as well. So that wasn't put into the presentation, but that was the intent. Expand membership and developing of papers towards 2026. And we're always looking to encourage increased representation. I think there's areas or skill sets, organisations that could really help participate. I have a number in mind. Even in utility space, it's interesting to hear what's happening around the place. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the Pilbara energy system, but they're really doing some things there. So I'll be pursuing them to see if I can get someone on the panel. We'll look for another face-to-face in mid-2026. Thank you.